Hey guys, it's Terin Humphrey from Humphrey's Gymnastics Podcast. I'm a two-time Olympic silver medalist, a two-time Hall of Fame inductee, world champion, a two-time NCAA champion, and 11-time All-American. As an ex-gymnast, I wish Grip Ease would have been around when I trained. The ultimate healing hands for rips. It's an all-natural cream and your gymnast hands will thank you. Be sure to order yours today at www.mygripease.com. That's mygripeez.com or on Instagram. Don't wait, gymnasts all around the nation and world are replenishing, healing, and moisturizing their hands back to normal. Welcome to Humphrey's Gymnastics Podcast. I'm your host, two-time Olympic silver medalist, Terin Humphrey. Today we'll talk about a little bit about me and my background and what my podcast is about. I started gymnastics when I was about 2 years old. My mom basically was having a hard time handling me in the house. I was climbing everything. I was, jumping off the couch onto my head. So my mom finally just said, we got to put you in a sport. I don't care what it is. I prefer gymnastics or ice skating. And my dad said, absolutely no ice skating in my family. We will start gymnastics. So I enrolled once a week in the gymnastics class with my mom. When I started gymnastics, I was really good. My coach always put me in a class with the older kids, and I would always try to beat the older kids. I'd try to climb the rope faster. I would try to get every skill they had to. However, when I got a little bit older, 8, 9 years old, we would go to state meets, and there was a gym that would always beat every other gym in the state, which was Gage Gymnastics in Blue Springs. So when I got to 9 years old, my coach was very honest, and she said, basically, I've outgrown the gym, and if I want to go further with gymnastics, then I would have to go to a different gym. So I ended up going to Gage once a week for private. Coach was basically like, if you want to be any good, you're going to have to move down here and be a part of this team. Everybody told my family, my dad, how it was such a huge mistake me moving to the city for the Olympics because it's nearly impossible. Thankfully, my parents did not listen. They believed in me. They knew I wasn't a very good gymnast, but they also knew that our family is a very hardworking family. And if we want something, we're going to go get it. Originally, my mom and I moved down for a year. It was just her and I. My brother and my dad moved down a year later. But I actually realized I was absolutely not good at all. I was taught everything different. So I couldn't build up my skills. So I ended up taking a year off of competitive gymnastics. And that year was hard because I watched the kids all competing and I didn't compete. I watched the kids getting a bunch of skills when I had to relearn the basics. So it was actually quite challenging. After that year off, I ended up competing, and I was still really bad. I still didn't have any talent, but I worked really, really hard. When I was about 12, my coach was like, hey, you have a chance to go to the Olympics. Of course, we were like, oh, yeah, okay, this man is off his rocker. He has no idea what he's talking about. We're shooting for a college scholarship. But as I got older, I ended up making every event that I tried for. I tried for world championships. I made it. I tried for the next world championships. I made it. So when I was about 15 years old, I kind of changed my mindset to, why can't I make it? I'm working really hard. I may not have the talent, but overall, this hard work is paying off. So when I was about 15, I realized that I was good enough to go to the Olympics, and this really was my passion. And I started changing my mindset to, this is my gymnastics now. I'm not doing it for my parents. I'm not doing it for my coaches. I'm doing it for myself. And it really, really allowed me to reach my full potential and go to the Olympics. It was extremely intimidating to know that if I were to make the Olympic team, the entire country is going to be watching me, and the entire country is going to be making sure I do my job. So, at 15 to 18 years old, most 15 to 18-year-olds don't have to have that responsibility. So yes, it was my job, and yes, I was so used to doing it. But think about having a job where the entire world is watching you on TV. So it's extremely intimidating. But in the end, it all worked out. The World Championships are almost, if not more nerve-wracking than the Olympics, because it's almost like a trial. That team before the Olympics is what everybody's watching and what everybody is going to watch going into the Olympics. So it's way more nerve-wracking to be going to World Championships than the actual Olympics. So the World Championships are actually the second highest competition besides the Olympics. So there's individual worlds and then there's team worlds. This was team worlds in 2003, the year before the Olympics. So yes, we were focused on ourselves, but we were actually focused on going and winning the gold medal. So the training is, me personally, I have to up my week event so I can make the team better and I can be an all-around gymnast versus I want to go in there and just be a specialist. I just want to compete on my favorite or my best event. I was more focused on getting my all-around score up. So we could win gold as a team. And then that would be like a stepping stone into the Olympics. My team was the first ever to win a gold medal at the World Championships. So in 2003, we were inducted into the Hall of Fame for the first ever gold medal winning team. And it was a good stepping stone because normally the team that wins will win the Olympics the next year. Now, that's not always true, but at that time, that was normally how it went. So we were on like an all-time high winning the World Championships. It definitely prepared me because there was a lot of things that happened in 2003 Worlds. I ended up making the team. However, at the time, Chelsea Memel competed at Pan Am's and she won Pan Am's. So they flew Chelsea in from Pan Am's and took my spot from Worlds because they thought maybe she could score better. Well, then we had Anya Hatch. She ended up tearing her ACL or MCL at training. And then we had another kid, Ashley Postel, who got food poisoning or got the flu or something. So by default, I ended up competing at Worlds, and it was one of the best floor routines I've ever done in my life. And it was kind of like an aha moment where I knew I was prepared and I knew I was ready. And I wanted to show everyone, including the Olympic Committee, that it was a mistake them taking me off the team. So it really changed my attitude and my mindset to not only training harder, but smarter. And I learned that every skill, every turn was more important than the next. So I ended up just competing with myself and just trying to make myself better every practice and every training. My favorite thing about competing in 2004 was walking into that arena and just seeing the Olympic rings on the floor and just realizing like this was the moment I have been dreaming about since I was 2 years old. This was a moment where I was going to compete against my favorite gymnasts growing up. I got to compete right next to Svetlana Korkina. I loved Courtney Kupets. She was one of my favorite athletes growing up. And, she was really like my sister, and I got to compete next to her. And I was just as good as the people I was seeing on TV. So 2004 was the year Carly Patterson won the gold. It was actually really awesome to watch. Kupets and Carly were always neck and neck on that all around spot. So just to have a USA woman get gold that year was really special to watch. We were excited. We were hoping for a gold, but at the end of the day, you can't really be upset with a silver medal at the Olympics. It was really cool, but we were coming off that high from 2003 Worlds where we were just slightly disappointed. I particularly wanted to be on the Wheaties box and all that growing up because that's just what you did as the Olympics. You got on a Wheaties box. However, endorsements weren't really, you could either go pro and take the money from endorsements, Wheaties, McDonald's, all of the above, or you could take a college scholarship. So even though we got silver as a team, we couldn't be on the Wheaties box because half of us were just going to school. I won a silver medal on the uneven bars. It was actually crazy because I not once ever won anything in the United States. I always got pretty bad scores in the United States. And so I remember sitting there on the steps, and Marta would go through who all is going to compete on an individual event. And she called my name on bars, and I kind of like looked at my coach, and I was like, was that an accident? And so she said it again. She's like, Terin, you'll be on bars. And I'm just like, this is not right, because I've never even scored in the United States, and Coupettes was always the bar champion. So being on an individual was just surreal. And I will tell you that I have never had an out of body experience until I went to the Olympic Games and I was competing in bars. I felt like I was watching myself on bars. It was just an insane moment. I was so happy. I don't think I was even nervous, because at that time I had trained my brain so to be focused and to be a machine at that time. The cool part was that Svetlana Korkina was my favorite gymnast, and I competed right after her on bars. She wasn't very happy with her performance and was a little upset, but I was like, wow, I'm still competing next to Svetlana Korkina. So I don't know how, but somehow I'm just as good as her. So after the 2004 Olympics, they had, they don't do this anymore, but they had a gala where the top people who placed on the event would go and compete. Not compete, they would do like a show for just like the hometown people. I was so tired, I couldn't even do a kick cast handstand. I literally did like kick cast handstand, fall over, kick cast handstand, giants. And I just looked at my coach and I said, like, I have nothing left in me. I have given at this point in time, I'm so burnt out. I'm so tired. So it was, I'm glad they got rid of that, because too many people were getting hurt. But we went on a 1-day cruise. I think every one of us just slept the whole time. We were just so tired, ready to get back home. We'd been gone about a month. We had training camp and then the Olympics. So we didn't stay for closing ceremonies. We went straight home. When I got home, I did a parade. My school did a parade for me. And then we had 1 week until tour. And we went on tour for 3 months. It was so many different cities. And then I deferred a semester of college, and I ended up going to college in January of 2005. And I competed for the University of Alabama. I got 2 NCAA bar titles. I was an 11-time All-American. I only competed 3 years. I got hurt. But I had a degree in criminal justice, and I came home and I was so lost. I didn't know what to do with myself. The 2 things I loved was gymnastics and criminal justice. So I had no idea what to do. I loved the TV shows, you know, the Law and Order, the NYPD Blue shows. So I ended up working at a forensic lab, and I worked for a ballistics expert. I hated it. It was the worst thing I've ever done. I sat and looked at a microscope for hours, and I'm like, okay, this cannot be why I can't do this the rest of my life. So my brother was a police officer at the time, and he's like, why don't you become a cop? I sort of laughed at him. I was like, I'm 5 foot, 100 pounds, and I'm a female. Like why would I do that? Like, people are going to laugh at me. And he's like, you know, Terin, it's actually the opposite. Like, we're needing a bunch of good female officers. So I did some soul searching, and I enrolled into the police academy, and I was the first out of my class to get hired. There was only one person that beat me in the push-up record. I got 105. My brother got 106. So he beat me. I also had 5 elbow surgeries, and he didn't have that. So I blame that. But I worked as a police officer for 4.5 years in Raymore, Missouri. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But at that department, we did a year on days and a year on nights. And I already have trouble sleeping at night. So working nights was just really, really hard. I also was the athlete representative for USA Gymnastics during that time. So I would sometimes work all night, work a whole night shift, get on the plane and work all day for USA Gymnastics. And it was just way too much for me. I ended up, you know, going back to my real passion, which is gymnastics. And I became a coach full time. I love coaching. It's my favorite thing to do. I loved coaching with my best friend, but I want a place that I can call my own. And I feel like I've done everything that the sport could possibly offer me, except for being my own boss and running a gym how I want to run it. I also eventually want to coach college, but I want to coach college in the state of Kansas because there is no college gymnastics in the state of Kansas. Everywhere else they have one. That is my ultimate goal 5 to 10 years down the road. I am starting Humphrey's Gymnastics Podcast because I want to be able to relate to people. And I think, with my life experience as an athlete, not only as an athlete, but as an Olympic gymnast, as an NCAA athlete, as just a rec athlete, I've pretty much been through it all. I've been through it all with gymnastics. I am a coach. I want to be able to help other coaches who may be struggling with, whether it's skills or having a kid have a mental block or whatever it may be. I just want to be able to open that line of communication and help myself, help my gym, help, everybody coming up who are open. I think growing up, I was in a gymnastics gym that it was basically my way or the highway. And I want to be able to learn myself. So I think opening the conversation and opening just topics will help me. And then I think it will help everybody else too, because the more you're open to learn, the more that your mind gets creative. And we all know that athletes, they learn different ways. So I want to do this podcast because I want people to realize that there's not one way to do things. And as a gym owner, I want to be able to learn myself. This season on my podcast, we will be doing a lot of interviews. I have some really awesome guests. We're going to be talking about gym moms, how to not be that crazy gym mom. We'll be doing question and answers. So be sure to send your questions to my YouTube link or Instagram or Facebook, whatever you want. I will be really excited to answer those questions. We'll also be talking about the struggles that I had and my failures and my struggles throughout my gymnastics and my coaching career. Thank you all for listening to Humphrey's Gymnastics Podcast, and thank you all for supporting me through this journey. Be sure to reach out and subscribe. Send me those questions. Subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions about my gymnastics for speaking engagements or camps, be sure to reach out at info@humphrey'sgymnastics.com. If you have any podcast questions, be sure to reach out at podcast@humphrey'sgymnastics.com. If you were to miss it, go through the show notes and they will all be there. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you all for listening today. And for all you gymnasts, coaches, don't forget to go to www.mygripease.com. That's mygripease.com to order your replenishing, healing, moisturizing hands back to normal.